Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Open Letter to a Survivor. I'm going to let James go ahead and do his normal one, too. But thanks, everybody who tuned in today.
What's up, everybody? Man, I don't know what she did, but welcome to Open Letters to a Survivor. I am your moderator, James. Of course, we have the beautiful lady poet here, and we will have K Love with us in just a moment. Just wanted to say, kind of the usual, the Sunday greetings. What's up to everybody? Hope everybody is doing very well. The ladies have been very busy this past week, just working on, obviously getting things together for tonight's show. But they're doing some amazing things for the podcast to come in the future. So much stuff happening, but we're going to go ahead and kick today's show off. We are missing Miss Cassandra today. She just has a lot of things going on, very, very busy, has some big events happening. So she took today off, but hey, she is always here in great spirit. Who knows? Maybe she'll pop in the comments or something like that. But the ladies are doing well and they are ready to kick things off tonight. So I am going to kick it over to Lady Poet actually in just one moment. I want to be sure that you all are, obviously sharing this with your family and your loved ones and making sure that you are liking, making sure you're commenting, and making sure that you are subscribing to the network if you are not already subscribing. You definitely want to get those notifications when they have new material, when they have new content, and when they're doing new things. So make sure that you click the notification bell so that you do get those notifications. And once again, make sure that you subscribe and share this with your family and your loved ones and your friends. So now I will push it over to Lady Poet, and you got the mic.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction. K Love is on, so she'll be in momentarily. But as always, we do open every week with a letter. So today's letter for Grief Month is, Dear Survivor. Oftentimes, certain things cause us to grieve. We mourn our health, jobs, trauma, family members, and so much more. Grief allows us to feel every emotion at one time, to hopefully heal what the grief caused. Whether memories are good or bad, they run down our face. How do we live in grief? How do we grieve in a healthy way? Breathe and go through the process. Breathe and reach out. Breathe and reach out again for support as many times as you need to. Breathe. It's okay. Wherever you are in the grief process, even anger, that's fine too. We are here for you and hope that our strength will empower you today. As always, love Cassandra, K Love, Lady Poet, the whole Open Letter to a Survivor team, and today's guest, Luciana China Black, which you will learn more about shortly as I bring her in. So we will get started. Thanks for tuning in, joining me, K Love. As always, I do appreciate it. I am going to introduce today's guest. So I met this guest actually 2 years ago at a Black Author Summit for a local bookstore. We exchanged books, read each other's books. Her book was so powerful, called Marvel Your Strength. I'm not going to give too much information because I'm going to let her get into that. But her book was so amazing and it helped through grief, regardless of what grief you're going through. It really helped. So she's been a force in my life ever since. We talk and her and I's motto is, if we would reach one, we reached a lot. So I'll bring her in today. And that is Luciana Black. Thank you for joining the Open Letter to a Survivor team today as we talk about your book, Marvel Your Strength.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime.
I thank you for extending the invitation to share my journey on grief. Something we all experience and will have to grow through and go through. So thank you for having me.
Oh,
Yes.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming. Thank you so much for coming. It is a pleasure. And I can't wait to read your material. And let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Luciana Black. I'm often, called by China. I'm a mother of three, a sibling to three. I was a daughter to two. I'm a friend. I am a confidant. Some people call me a consultant, a counselor, but overall, I'm just a blessed individual using my pain, my
All the stuff.
purpose for a passion, just to reach somebody else. Sometimes we
No, this is Sean.
don't look at others, the things they go through until we can see ourselves in them. So,
Right.
using my grief to produce something that help a person communicate when they feel like there's no one to listen, there's no way to communicate, there's no help, there's self-doubt. So I just use that as a way to free myself from the
Mm-hmm.
hurt, the heartache, the pain. Like Lady Poet said, her and I met at an author event, and the author event, was for like people of color, and it was like different authors, different genres of books, different stories, but her story, like my story, just touched you. You know what I'm saying? You can just like run into folks and run into people, and it's like sometimes God speak to you just when you think that nobody hears you. Is in the moment. You know what I'm saying? So I really thank you for this opportunity to be able to share my story about grief, and also my piece, Marvel's Inspiration, A Journey for Self-Healing, and what prompted me and, you know, gave me the strength to even step out on faith and be able to help somebody else.
Awesome. And with that being said, can you tell us a little bit more about what grief is and how it might manifest differently with different people?
Grief is an overwhelming emotional feeling of loss. Grief manifests in each individual based on the loss that they experience. There is no right or wrong way to grieve, just as long as you go through the process. It don't look the same for everybody. And grief is just
Right.
not what people think is death. It's really the loss of something. It can be the loss of a family member, the loss of a child, the loss of a friendship, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a business, the loss of a job. It's just the extension of the loss. I think, some
Right.
people, a lot of people relate grief with just the death of a loved one, and it's so much more. It's
Mm-hmm.
so much more. And it's different avenues of grief. It's different levels of grief, different categories of grief. Like, some people don't really realize, like, there's acceptance, there's anger, there's denial, there's acceptance. And when you go through those stages of grief, then that's when you really find out the purpose for your grief. Like, you know how some people be like, I don't understand, why I'm going through this. I don't understand this level of pain. It's my belief that there's a purpose for every pain that we experience and that we go through. You find out the lesson in the end once you go through it, though. Once you go through it
Mm-hmm.
and you grow through it, you'll find the purpose beyond the pain.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's like the different types of grief as we were getting it. Can you expound upon those different types of grief? I know, for example, we have anticipatory grief and complicated or disenfranchised grief. And how do they differ in their emotional impact on someone?
Well, I'll say the anticipatory grief, I've experienced that. My mom passed away in 2007 from pancreatic cancer. She was
Mm.
diagnosed April of 2007 and was given a very short chance to live. It was like the acceptance. It's like we were told we had to accept that, and it was like, the doctors didn't play God, but they gave us the facts. and it was up to us to be able to accept this is what would be our new normal, our new life. And the time span that we were given, we had to anticipate her death. We had to anticipate her death. And knowing a loved one is going to pass, expire, transition, kind of gives you time, or at least the opportunity to attempt to prepare, because you never prepare for that final moment. I don't care. You don't it's coming. If you have a family member that's terminal, it's coming. You just don't know when. It's not until that final moment when you like, now I have to accept it. But in the acceptance part, there's still denial. There's like, I can't believe this is actually happening. I can't believe that this life that I've had with this person, that tomorrow I'm going to have to attempt to learn a new way of life without this
Right.
person, this emptiness, this void. That anticipatory grief is beyond beyond comprehension until you're in the seat. For people to sit and say they're in a better place, you don't tell a person that. That's not your experience. You can't experience, you can't comment on people's experience because it's not your own. For those who can say to a person who's lost a child, oh, I know, if your child's still living and you ain't had to close the box and make funeral arrangements, you don't know what that person is experiencing. If you haven't had to sit in a doctor's office and say, hey, these are the last couple of days, these are the last months that you have, and you having family members saying, hey, I don't want no more treatments. I'm going to make the last of my days the best of my days. The quality of life that I have remaining. I want it to mean something. I want it to have a purpose. So going through anticipatory grief, it's like you can't breathe. It's like you sitting there holding your breath because you don't know when the shoe gonna drop. You don't know when you gonna get the call and they're gonna say that's it. And once we got the call, it was like, what do we do now? Who do we call? Because the first initial feeling is shock. It's numbness. You don't know how to feel. You don't know what to feel. You just know I'm lost.
Yeah.
That's
It's
some good. I'm sorry, that's some good information you gave, because a lot of people, they say what they think that they can say, or the standard what it says, but you don't know how what you may be saying may hurt somebody else, because at that moment they don't understand, and
I
that
agree.
yeah, they don't. So I'm the type of person that I may not respond right when you're going through it, but I'm the one that'll write you in the middle of the night to just say, what can I do for you? And I
Absolutely.
think that that's a better response to people who may be grieving, and you know somebody's grieving. It's just to ask, what can I do? Do you need me to sit with you? Do you need me to bring you something to eat? Do you need me to order you something? Do you need me to just make a joke? Do you need me to leave you alone? What's the best thing I can do to help you in your grief?
And a lot of times, and for our experience, my mother was loved by a lot of people. She loved a lot of people. But in that moment, you don't even realize what people say. You just know who was there. You know who was there during the process. You know who was there making phone calls. You know who was there at doctor's appointments. You know who was there sitting in a funeral home with you making arrangements, and you ain't know what to do, what to say, how to say. You had people who was there that showed up and stayed, despite, oh, you know I'm there if you need something. All you got to do is call. When all those phone calls and those visits stop and you got to sit in that, it's not about what people said. It's about who you see, who you remember there, who was there and never left, who was there in that corner where you can remember back, like, I don't remember what they said, But I know in that moment when I couldn't say nothing, I couldn't feel nothing, I know that person was there. I
Right.
know people who, even now, still today, Mother's Day is hard for us. Her birthday is hard for us. Her death
Mm-hmm.
day is hard for us. It's
Yeah.
people who know that it's difficult for us as mothers, me and my sister. Mother's Day is hard. We can't, even though we're mothers ourselves, it's difficult to celebrate Mother's Day because our mother's not here. I was told to not really soak in her absence, but to bask in her memory. And that has helped. But we still have those ones that know, I know today is hard. I know they don't want to talk, but I'll just send a text message, Happy Mother's Day, or I'm just checking on you. And those things mean a lot because
Mm-hmm.
people know like they're grieving. And it doesn't get easier. It doesn't. It just becomes a
More
little less
tolerant.
difficult
Yeah.
to navigate through this life.
Mm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It does, because it doesn't go away. It doesn't
Right.
go away. It's just, how do you continue to live? How do you continue to breathe? What was your purpose in sitting in this grief, in living with this grief? What
Mm-hmm.
passion can you develop from this grief?
Right. And that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing to say. But I'm going to go ahead and let her ask her next question.
So, what are some, well, how for a prolonged grief, when people are grieving for a prolonged length of time, when is it at some point where you feel like they may need to just get some therapy?
When you have no level of understanding, sometimes we don't understand ourselves. Sometimes we just try to figure it out. And if it becomes to the point where the mental anguish starts to place you in a place of depression, I think that's then you should seek possible therapy. Because
Mm-hmm.
we have the stigma, oh, I don't want to talk to nobody, I don't want to tell my business. But I just feel like, in my opinion, therapy is just a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy is a conversation with somebody that is more educated on the topic you may just need help in talking about. Being able to express your feelings, express what you're
Right.
going through. Somebody that is neutral, that don't know you, you don't know them, but can just offer guidance and education.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Yeah,
So,
that that makes sense because sometimes you don't even realize that your mental state has adjusted or changed because you're in the midst of just living day to day, but then
Absolutely.
something clicks and you're like, oh wow, wait a minute. I don't want to celebrate this. I don't want to be bothered with people. I want to just be left alone. So a lot starts to change and alter your mental state. And it's because you haven't really dealt with your grief in a healthy manner or at all.
And it's definitely not healthy to sit in that.
Yeah.
I did that once before.
Mhm.
My grandmother, who I was close to, she too passed away from cancer, but it was like years before my mother. And I did not grieve. I was too
Mhm.
busy worried about everybody else. I was worried about how my mom was going to deal with the death of her mother. And
Right.
I prolonged it. I didn't like grieve. And I think it took for an event of just coming across another person that was actively dying, that had no family. And that is what set me
Mhm.
into the motion of grieving my grandmother. Where, working in a hospital, I was told by my supervisor, like, you have to now go seek counseling because it's too bad. You have to talk
Mhm.
to somebody because this
Mhm.
unhealthy grieving, you just holding it in and not feeling, once again, it's just like you holding your breath. Eventually, if you're not
Yeah.
breathing, you're not living. So when my
Mhm.
mother died, I said, I have to feel this. Even though I didn't want to, I had to go through the process. So it becomes it. I've had therapy, for the death of my grandmother because of the prolonged grief. I waited. So I knew when my mother died, I could not wait a long time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's really good because a lot of, first of all, our show is all about seeking therapy as well as, getting ourselves healthy because our community think it's something wrong with it and it's really not. And so like James says, like I always say, that's my favorite time is when I go and can have this unbiased conversation with somebody that's gonna help me sort through and navigate everything. So
And therapy is a conversation.
right.
That's all it is. It's a conversation with somebody you don't know.
Right.
Right.
Yep, and sometimes they have more of a better interest at heart than people that you may know in your own family. So that, therefore, I say is a much needed thing.
Absolutely. And a lot
Mhm.
of people tell you what they think you want to hear, like you touched on earlier, rather than telling you what you need to hear. Because a
Right,
lot of telling a person what they want to hear, that's not healthy for them. That don't make them grow. That don't make them change their mindset. Sometimes it's those hard conversations, it's those hard no's, it's those
hmm
sitting with yourself to make you realize, yeah, there's a different way to do things.
right,
Mhm.
right. And so
And it's
before,
kind of like what you said earlier when you were asking when people say cliche-ish things,
yeah,
like they're in a better place, um, or like a lady poet said, when people ask you, what do you want? Is there anything I can do for you? In the midst of it, you don't know what you need or what you want at that
That's
time.
something.
Kind of like a moot question to even ask. I'm just dealing with the fact that they're no longer here. So what I need at the moment is a moment.
right. And that's why I say, sometimes the best answer can be like, do you need me to just leave you alone for now? But just,
Mm,
or just when people just jump in, sometimes the best thing you can do is when you see things that's needed. I've had, for example, people close to me seeing that I was going through stuff and then just jumped in and helped clean my house, help wash clothes,
mm,
just when things start hitting the fan. And I'm talking about grief in other ways,
Right.
they jumped
mm,
in and they just picked up where they could, and that was more I appreciated that more than somebody just saying, okay, I'm just checking on you, because this person actually, my love, that it was like a love language to me. Your actions, your act of service, that service helped me, and I'll always remember that, versus this person just sending a generic text. Or, so I do totally agree, K Love, with that sometimes you need a moment, but we sometimes is, well, I see this messed up, so let me wash the dishes, or let me go and do this for you,
mm.
and just start getting back, like they say, get in where you fit in, but and help me,
Absolutely.
get to that next part.
And sometimes, like you said, you don't know in the moment what you need. I can't even express how deep of a statement that is. You don't know. It's not until
Right.
moments, months, and years later when the dust has settled and everything is final, then you will know what it is you need. And just as Lady Poet
Mm,
said, for those to just jump in and take the initiative to say, I think they may need this, this may help them benefit in the moment or experience that they having. Those type of things really make a difference.
Hmm.
mhm.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but before I go to my next question, Caleb, did you have anything else to say before I go to my next question?
Nope. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So we did touch on, and we've heard you speak about your mom. We also heard, but about your journal, Marvel Your Strength. So just give us a little insight on why you actually wrote the journal.
Okay, so my why was my mother, was another life altering grief. Um, my mother experienced a lot of things in her life: domestic violence, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, PTSD, and she journaled. A lot of times you do have those family members that want to offer their opinion. they want to offer their
Mm.
insight, when you just want to vent. I just need somebody to talk to. I just need somebody to just get it out. I just need just to get it off my chest. So to avoid all of the unwanted advice, she journaled.
Mhm.
She freed herself through journaling. And I had a person close to me that went through a very tough time. And I believe if they felt that they had a safe space to write their thoughts, express their feelings, that maybe that life altering event wouldn't have taken place. So
Mm-hmm.
with the love of my mother and the love of the other person, I looked at how do people walk this earth and hold in so much. You don't know what people go through. You don't know how people deal with the things they go through in life. And my mother freed herself through journaling, like I say. And in the book, the title, Marvel's Inspiration, a journal for self-healing, my mother's name was Marvel. That was her name. And she was a moment. Also, she was an experience. And if you look up the word Marvel in the dictionary, it is um the fulfillment of wonder or astonishment. That could be an amazing thing or person. And the meaning for Marvel, the strength, is my mother persevered through all of those things. It was like the strength to not give up, to not let all of the things she experienced in life
Yeah.
hold her back or hold her down. And the, the year before she transitioned, I came across a journal, a year worth of journal entries. You're not supposed to read people's personal thoughts, but she wasn't here. So I'm just going to see what she was talking about in that last year.
Right.
But in that year, it was, it had been 10 years since her death. It was actually right before my 40th birthday because she died 2 weeks after my 30th birthday. So we were now on year 10. It was my 40th birthday approaching. And at this time, I think it was just a God given thing. It was like my life was in disarray. I was all over the place, feelings all over the place, going to school full time, working full time, being a mom full time, being everything to everybody and for everybody. And I just had to sit down with just myself and God and just ask why. And I came across her journals. And in those journal entries, I saw how she prayed for other people. I saw how she prayed for herself. She thanked God for any and all experiences. And it was like this safe space, her most personal thoughts. It even had things about me that I never thought my mother would think of as her child. But it makes you do self-reflection. When you think you're being one way to a person, you don't know their thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And reading those made me want to be the person that make a change, that made a difference. Um, so my why was I wanted to create that safe space. I wanted to create that space where a person can be vulnerable, where a person can get to know themselves without the outside noise, without the outside interference. And it's a guided journal. It asks questions, because sometimes we don't know what to write. People think, oh, we got to know what we write in the journal. Sometimes you just don't know. So I started
Right.
with guided questions, asking the question that a lot of us can't answer. How are you today? Typically we give, I'm okay, when you're really not. How are you feeling means I'm
Mhm.
sad. I'm grieving. I'm weighed down. And this is why. I added those questions to make it a little easier for you to get into your own self business, for you to be able to be comfortable with you talking about how you feel, journaling your feelings through written expression. So it's kind of like, the freeing yourself by yourself as you learn yourself.
Right.
I absolutely love that. And that takes me to this
Thank you.
question. You're welcome. What are some effective ways to support someone who is grieving, particularly if their grieving process looks different from what you might expect?
First, be there and just listen. Allow them to have their experience. Don't rush the grieving process, because I'm going to tell you, one of the worst things somebody told me, oh, just get over it. How do you get over your living this life without your mother? How?
Right.
That's a learned process. Um, don't discount a person experience. Like we said before, my experience may not be your experience, and your experience may not be mine. Here's the thing: we may have both experienced the loss of a mother, but what your mother meant to you, it may not impact you the way my mother meant to me. You know, also, I think it's disrespectful and inconsiderate when you do that to people, because you're not allowing a person to have their own grieving experience. It looks different for others. It feels different for others. Some people can have a loss, whatever that may be, and just find something different to replace what they lost, or replace it with something to work through, so they'll forget, so they don't have to grieve. You know, I think that allowing a person just to feel, to let them know that if they still living, that it's a pain for their, it's a purpose for their pain. Just sit with them in it. Sometimes you just have to just let a person be. Let them go through it how they're going to go through it. I can't tell you what to do. I can't, explain it, but it's like, I'll say what I can offer. Be there. Just listen, because sometimes it's not what you say, it's what's unsaid that can matter the most to people sometimes in these instances.
That's so true. With that, and so the that brings us to some people find meaning or purpose in their loss. Can you share how this process works and what it might look like for different individuals?
Well, at the beginning of a loss, you don't understand the purpose. I think it's not until you sit in it and go through it,
Mm-hmm.
then that you find out what the purpose is. I think that the purpose for my loss was to gain my passion for writing. And my passion for writing and my expression of words helped me to produce a journal. To at least, like I said, if my journal can change the dynamics of somebody's day, if my journal can reach somebody and they say, I'm now in tune with myself, I can now express myself, I give myself grace. I now understand that I don't have to sit in this loss and die with the person that I lost or with the thing that I lost. I can still live. I can still live through the grief.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard. And it
Right.
takes time. But as long as you still breathing,
Mm-hmm.
you're living, there's a purpose. And once you realize what the purpose is for your pain, take that, take that newly found purpose and do something with it. Do something with your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I think my purpose
Yeah.
is to be a conversationalist that help people express themselves when it's hard to do.
I love it. Just we need someone to start conversations for us. So I think that's an amazing thing. So, how does grief manifest in children, and how can adults, I'm sorry, best support them through the grieving process?
I don't think kids really know how to process grief. I think that's I think that comes with time, age, and wisdom. Um, because we as adults, we're still learning what grief is, what it looks like, what it feels like, how we're supposed to go through it. For children, I would say
Mhm.
use your own experience. Use your own experience and try to redirect the child that is dealing with grief so that it's not hard to understand. And if you're having trouble, seek a professional to help you with it. I mean, there's teachers that can better understand the process of grief, even to give you instructions as a parent or a loved one how to navigate through this. You know, we touched on children that unfortunately that has attempted suicide. Last year, a student at my son's school, and my son's in middle school. I won't say the school or the child's name. And I really struggled with that because I said, how do you as a
Mhm.
parent talk to your child about another student that's close in age, like when they ask questions? And a professional told me the best thing that I can do to start that conversation is tell me what you know, and then tell me what you would like to know. I said, I never thought about it that way, because oftentimes they know more than we give them credit for.
Right.
And we offer more information sometimes than needs to be had. So, you know, her saying, tell me what you know,
Mm.
and then tell me what you would like to know about this, and how are you feeling? And I think those are good questions to start to have that conversation. So I do say include, you
Mhm.
know, people that's close to them. Sometimes children don't want to talk to their parents. Sometimes they have to reach out and obtain their own village of people that can get through them. Because sometimes, you know, you'll tell a child and an adult one thing, but sometimes it's not received from people that is close to them. It's sometimes better received or delivered from somebody that's not close to them for fear of disappointment or for fear of letdown. So sometimes we do need to initiate other people when we don't quite understand.
Uh, I like that. So yeah, we do need to create our own village. I think K Love and I talk about our village often on this platform, but we've created a village within not only ourselves but in other people as well. So I think that having a village outside of just a parent or family sometimes is more helpful because again, you have those unbiased opinions, but you're gonna have I have people that I just call when I know I did something wrong just for them to yell at me because I know that that's who their purpose in my village. I need that no person. So I think that building a village, especially for young adults and children, are needed. And so my last question to you is can you share a personal or professional story of resilience in the face of grief and what can be learned from it?
A professional or personal story of resilience. I'll say for me, personal, the loss of my mother. Although a big piece of me left when she transitioned, I learned a lot. Um, in the loss, I learned to create memories. I learned to right wrongs. I learned to forgive. I asked for
Mm.
forgiveness, patience, and understanding I didn't know I had. And having to just keep going. Because when my mother died, I was mad. I had already lost my father at a young age, my grandmother not long after, and my mother was all I had left from the parental standpoint. And I just told her, like, you left me here. And I had to overcome that anger and selfishness because that's what it was. It was selfish. You know, although I wanted her to stay here with me, I had to come to the realization, why ask her to stay here with me, enduring pain and suffering, body riddled with cancer, to make me feel okay? I had to push through that. I knew my mother was leaving. I watched my mother leave. I had to sit down, you know, days before my mother died and tell my mother, I just want to tell you I love you. I just want to tell you that all that I did as your daughter, that things that I didn't do, things that you were not proud of, the mistakes I made, the disrespect I may have caused, the letdown. I want you to know that I love you. And I'm asking for your forgiveness. So I made peace with the fact that I was going to take a loss. One of the biggest losses to date. July 27th, 2007, not only did my mother leave, but a part of me left with her. But I had to continue on. I had to make sure that my mother wasn't forgotten. Because, like I said, Marvel, she was not just a person. Anybody that knew her, she was an experience. And I wanted to make sure that in this journal, in this writing, that I gave a person an experience. I gave them an experience of self healing, because I had to heal, and I had to sit down and say, my mother would be so mad at me for feeling like I just want to lay down and die with her. My mother would be so mad at me knowing I got so much life to give. I got so much more to offer this world. I got to keep her name going. I got to tell her stories. I get to tell people what she was like. I get to tell people, like, this is what strength looks like. I display it every day. This is strength. Getting up on the days when you don't want to. Getting up talking when you ain't got nothing to say. Smiling when it's hard because your heart is broke. You got a frog in your throat and you just don't know what to say. But making the choice to just keep going in spite of is all that I ask, all that anybody could ask. Grieving looks different on everybody. One thing for sure, we are all promised grief. We are all promised that. We are all going to experience it, no matter what type of loss it is. If it has some tremendous impact on you, you're going to go through the grieving experience. I just offer, go through it. Don't wait too late. Because sometimes waiting too late, that can be a danger to your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But perseverance through grief, just go through it. Just feel it. You got to feel it. You got to feel it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, that
I just want to say thank you.
that that was a word right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
Thank
was.
you.
It was. That's yeah, yeah. Definitely. Because I felt all of that experience, just what you were saying, and it's so true. And if it resonates with me, I know it definitely has touched someone, a viewer of ours, or anyone that's watching or going to watch this show, because like you said, grief is a part of life. Losses of life is part of living. We live and then we die, and so at some point we have to be able to be in a position to handle our grief, however it came, through a friendship, relationship, a marriage, a pet, a family member. It doesn't matter. Grief is grief, and we have to get the necessary tools to deal with our grief. And I appreciate everything that you have said today. And I ask, is there any encouraging words that you can leave with someone who is
Absolutely.
potentially
Y-
going through some
Y'all
grief
got me in
right
tears
now?
over here. I did not know I was going to be crying on this Sunday, but sometimes you got to feel. that.
And
That's
right.
okay.
I can give you a couple quotes from my book, Marvel's Inspiration. You can reach out to me on IG, Facebook, phone number 216-609-8238. It's also on Amazon for purchase. I did a exercise with my daughters and my niece, and my mother always offered words of encouragement. She had some inspiration, something uplifting, and she always told me, be still.
Mm.
Be
Mhm.
still. And
Mhm.
now I know what that means. Coming up, you don't know what that means. She just quoting scriptures from the Bible. What is she talking about? I know what that means now. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
you move in life going behind you. You don't know. You can't get the right answers. But if you just be still, you'll know. I asked my daughters and my niece, if we offer them words, we say words to them, and we often ask them, if it's something that we offered you, words that we say, encouraging, uplifting, that you would take with you through this life, what is it? And my daughter say, I always tell her and her siblings, accept it and correct it. Meaning, accept it, own it, take accountability, make the change, ask for forgiveness, make it right, humble yourself. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. My my niece said that my sister tells her, if you done your best and your best was all you can do, then your best was good enough. So I asked them, I said, since we gave y'all those words to encourage us, to encourage you all, to uplift you all as a reminder, what would you give to us when you feel like we're not looking and we need to be uplifted? And my niece said to my sister, always keep your face upon the sun so that your dreams can shine upon you. Always look to the sky so that they can so that they can shine upon you. My daughter said to me, stand. And I'm saying to her, like, what do you mean? She was like, Ma, you strong, stand. And I said, Lord, what would you have her to be telling me? And her quote that's also in the book, it says, stand when you feel like you want to break. Stand when it even feels impossible. Stand because you are an inspiration to others. And I said, wow, out the mouths of our children. I said, that lets me know that my daughter recognizes the strength, recognizes how all that I've went through, how I stand, and I can inspire somebody else. So if I touch one person tonight, if I help one person understand what grief looked like, what it could feel like, where to turn going through grief, or even how to use your grief and turn it into a passion to find your purpose in it, I did my job. Like I told Lady Poet, if I reached one person and she said to me, I did some life changing things for her, and I didn't know her before we met at the author event, I said, Lord, I thank you because I touched at least one person.
Well, thank you for that.
Right.
So we do invite you to stick around. We have Tim who comes on to do our motivational minute every week. So he's going to do a quick motivational minute. Before we do that, we are going to do the Let's Go to Therapy and the Spotlight. We're going to make those quick today. I just want to say for our Spotlight section for Tim, his launch has been pushed back to November 17th. For Righteous Brothers, his clothing accessory line, sometimes you got to push it back. You got to get right, feel right, stay right. So in order to make it stay right, you got to push it back sometimes. So I'm just giving a quick recap, K Love. I'm sorry. And so let's go to therapy. We do have Belinda Williams as well as Shamara Hutchins, and they do uh, work with our people with our traumas. So that is what they do. You can give us contact us at our email at openletterstoasurvivor@gmail.com. We will get you hooked up to our services, to their services. We also want to welcome Jamal Coach Trail Cottrell to our team. He will be our life coach that will be standing in the midst every week. So if you do need some life coaching, please email us at openletterstoasurvivor again at gmail.com, and we will get you hooked up with this life coach. He does great work. So just contact us if you need it. And lastly, before we go to Tim, we want to wish our very own Cassandra Williams, her mother, we adopted her because we are family. So, Emma Williams, we love you. Happy birthday. That you are mama too now. So, happy birthday. Have a good day tomorrow. Tim,
Happy birthday.
after we do the motivational minute, we'll take you out next week. So, go ahead, Tim, with the motivational minute. Uh-oh, Tim, we got to take us to church.
All right. How is everybody doing today?
You fine.
Good.
We're blessed.
Trying to go to another room. I'm at on the job, but I'm grateful to be on here today. I'm grateful to hear this and you all pretty much did the motivational minute today. I'll kind of echo what you all doing, what you all said, because it's very important to handle grief in the in like a sensitive way, because everybody experiences grief differently. And I know from experiences years ago, my grandfather went on to be with the Lord. It was hard, very hard. It took a long time for me to really get through that. Never got over it, but getting through it was the hard thing. And the main thing is continually leaning on those happy times that we had with each other. And that's what I encourage anyone that's listening tonight that may be going through hard time of grief. Remember the happy times you had with your loved one and cherish those, and always keep in mind, even today, if you're with your loved ones, if you're with your grandparents and with your parents, don't always take every moment, always cherish every moment, because you never want to experience a time where you have regrets when you leave this earth. Don't allow that to happen. Just cherish the good times you have with your loved one, and always know. And I'm just going to say this is always, as Lady Poet said, I take you to church. I'm just going to refer to this, that the main thing is, in order to really go through grief the right way, is knowing that they're right with the Lord. And with that, when I say that, is knowing that they're with the Lord, knowing that one day you'll be with them when you leave this earth. And that's the hope that I always keep in mind with experiencing grief and experiencing the loss of a loved one, knowing that there was no more pain anymore. And they're up there with Jesus. And one day I will be with them again, as the Bible says, to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. And now that they're no longer here, they have no more pain. They have no more headache, and that's the joy part that I get out of that. And but it's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. Jesus even cried when his friend Lazarus left this earth, but Jesus, with all power in his hands, revived him back to life. And as believers, we always ought to always keep in mind that death is not a part of us. Yes, you leave this earth, but you living an eternal life with Jesus, and that's how I get through it, knowing that they're okay, they're good. Now it's up to me to cherish the memories I had with the loved one, and continually to live on, and know that their legacy is not dead. Their legacy still here. It just with my grandfather, he had a big impact in my life, especially in the church. And then now, sometimes I notice I do certain things that he used to do, not walking in his footsteps, but just knowing that he had a great impact in my life and helped get me to where I'm at today. So the main thing is continually allow Jesus to be a part of you, but allow yourself to be around people to help you as well. That maybe we experience the same thing that you experience, because we can't do this by ourselves. We need others to help us along the way. Be with great, like-minded people, and continually, like Like you all said before, you got to stand up. You got to continually stand your ground. You may be down right now, but pick yourself back up. Allow somebody to help you back up. Don't be down forever, because that's going to cause depression. That's going to cause a lot of pain within your body. But if you stand up strong, you're okay. But just know that you can't do this alone. You need others to help you along the way as well. And one scripture I always hold on and always keep in my heart is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6.
Right.
Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. If you don't lean on what you think, lean on Jesus. Allow him to take you to an even better place. Allow him to release the grief from you. Allow him to release all the stress and anxiety from your body, because this world is going to continually corrupt you, continually keep you along the wrong path. But when you put your hands in Jesus' hand, allow Him to take the pain and take the grief and take the burden away from you. He's going to fill you up with His great joy, and nobody can take your joy. Nobody can take your happiness. Nobody can take anything that He put in store for you. But continually keep in mind, trust in Him, believe in Him, and He'll direct your path. He'll take you through. But just know, when you lose a loved one, sometimes you may not get over it, but God will get you through it. He'll get you through that hard time, that difficult time. Don't worry about getting over it, but just continually meditate and cherish the good times and the happy times, and know that they have no more pain anymore, because they're up there with Jesus. Continually keep in mind Proverbs 3, 5 through 6, as I leave once again. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to your own understandings, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. And always believe this, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God bless you and God keep you.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you
All
so much.
right.
And we'll see you next week. Next week, we
Mhm.
are continuing our series on grief. We'll be talking about self loss and losing ourselves in the process of maybe having other grief that we're dealing with. So that'll be our topic for next week.
All right.
Thank you. So you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everybody. Like, comment, share, subscribe to today's guest. Thank you so much. I love you and I appreciate you. Bye, everybody.
You love you all. Thank you
All
for
right.
having
Have a good one.
me.
Bye. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.